Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hard Choice. Simple steps for showing up. My name is Brad Draper, and I've got some pretty solid episodes coming for you in the coming weeks. And today's is no exception. So for those that know, I kind of like fitness. I know, shocker, surprise, surprise. I enjoy the pain, the climb, the hurt. I enjoy the growth process, and that includes the tearing of the muscle process, right? One thing that I enjoy doing is more of a recent favorite is mountain biking. I've only been doing it for the last couple of years outside of the 21 years of fitness. And I've learned I really like mountain biking, over road biking even. I can just put my headphones in, tune out. I love the climb. I enjoy the work of getting up the mountain and then the bliss and joy and satisfaction of just flying down the mountain at breakneck, outlandish speeds. It's just so much fun. And do I wreck? Yep, I wreck. It happens. But that's okay. We live, we learn, and we grow from our mistakes, just like when I wrecked last week. Learn what I did wrong and how to prevent that for future occurrences. What can I do better? How can I grow? So I was riding my bike yesterday up Draper, Utah Corner Canyon, and I climbed 1,700 feet or so over 90 minutes. I originally wanted to, let's back that up. There's two routes I can do. There's the lower route and the upper route. Lower route is much longer. It's known as Rush. The upper route, much shorter, known as Jacob's Ladder. I said, well, do I want to do Jacob's Ladder or do I want to do Rush? Which one do I want to do? I decided to do Rush because it's longer and it's a little more flowy, whereas Jacob's Ladder is a little more technical. I got to the top of Rush and decided, I have time. Let's do both. Why do we put ourselves in these positions where we have to choose when most of the time you could actually have both? Just do both. It's actually a pretty fun game to do. Would you like French fries or waffle fries? I want both. You want French fries or onion rings? I want both. Start asking for both. That's a fun little challenge for you. Start asking for both and see what doors open up in your life and how you feel when you decide that you don't need to decide between two things, but you can have them both. So a few years ago, I started my mountain biking adventures on a hardtail, non-suspension fat bike. So that's those bikes with the really, really wide tires that are designed for snow. I did mountain biking on one of those, and that's where I started. And when you're on a bike like that, it's very bumpy, it's very bouncy, it's not as fun, and it's just a lot of work. You're sitting there staring at the tire, slaving, barely able to breathe, sweating your guts out, and you never really pay attention to around you because you're just trying to get up and keep moving and not fall over. And then one day, a friend invited me to go mountain biking with him. And now this friend, at the time of we went, he was pretty much dad bod supreme. He said, let's go mountain biking. I said, in what world are you going to mountain bike? He goes, oh no, dude, I'm going to be on an e-bike. And at that point in time, I was fairly naive. And I said, well, you better bring games and some snacks and a lunch because you'll beat me by a long shot. And he said, no, I'm going to bring you one too. We'll both be on e-bikes. So I said, well, awesome. Let's do it. That sounds like fun. And we proceeded to ride. I remember very succinctly in an hour and a half, we did 13 miles. And it was glorious. It was awesome. And we were on trails that I had done many, many times before. But this time I was still working my guts out because of time under tension, right? Not just distance, but time under tension. And I realized I don't have to stare at the ground if I don't necessarily want to. I can start looking around and seeing the beauty that is everywhere around me and how beautiful it was. I was awestruck. I was stunned to the point that I stopped and just looked where we were. Mind you, I'd been in this position, in this place, so many times, but I never stopped to look around. I never stopped to admire the beauty that was my environment. And it was glorious. So, fast forward a couple of years. Yesterday, I'm riding up this mountain and I get to a specific turnaround that overlooks Salt Lake County. At the mouth of that canyon is the Draper Temple for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it's early in the morning, it's still dark, and I look over the valley and the temple is right there, and it's just such a pretty scene. And so I stop. I turn around and I look back and just take in the beauty that is right in front of my eyes. It was right behind me originally, but I stopped and turned and just took it in. And I want you to think about how often you stop what you're doing, turn around, and take in how far you've come, where you come from, to look around you and see the beauty that is your life. Think about where you were 6 months ago, 12 months ago, years ago, 5, 10, 20 years ago. Where were you? And what took place to get you right here, right now? What in your life took place to evolve you into who you are today? And what are you doing today to evolve into the next version? But the biggest thing is so often, especially us as entrepreneurs, is we just keep going to the next milestone. We just keep hiking because there's another peak to climb. But so often we forget to stop and look back. Admire the beauty around you. See what you've gone through. See what formed you and molded you into who you are. We too often just keep on grinding forward because we're so forward driven. Our eyes are locked on the horizon because we forget that we had an entire life to get here. And we forget to pause and take in everything around us. We're constantly comparing ourselves to other entrepreneurs, other people, and their success and what they've done, and trying to get to that point. There's always going to be another car, another house, another thing you can buy to keep up with others. Always. There will always be a competition. Yes, Elon Musk, I think at the time of this recording, I'm not sure if he's the wealthiest person in the world. He has fallen out of slot 1 and gone to slot 2. It's still a battle, even for the highest of the highest. And how important it is to, one, compare yourself against yourself. Look to others for understanding and for learning and for experience. Asking those people, returning back to where you're trying to go, right? The old proverb there. But really understanding what it took to get to where you are. That is something to be excited about. That is something to be proud of. That is something that you need to stop and ponder on from time to time. Now, I'm not saying sit there and drive forward with a rear view facing mirror, staring in that. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying pause periodically and see how far you've come. Look in your house right now and think about your first house. Your car you're driving right now, what was your first car? The family you have now, where did your family start? What you guys are doing for vacations and for trips and for experiences now versus when you were first together, first married. How have they changed? How have they evolved? How have they aggrandized? It is amazing to pause and look while you're on the climb. And in fact, yesterday when I was on this climb, I verbally said, Brad, stop, turn around, and look behind you. I actually audibly said that to myself because I do self-coach, especially when I'm on the mountain or under a barbell. I self-coach, I yell at myself, and it's a way to get me excited. But how often are you telling yourself, take a breath, take a breather, turn around, and see how far I've come? Ask other people if you want another frame of reference. Where was I 6 months ago or 12 months ago or a year or 2 or 5 years ago? And get their input. What do they see in you? Look at your life from their perspective. Take a new lens. And how important that is. How beautiful it is to have the opportunity to do that. How often are you missing that opportunity? Asking those people that know you best and those that have known you longest and say, who was I then to you from your perspective, and who am I now? Where have I evolved? For the better, for the resourceful, or for the unresourceful? Are there things I'm doing now that I probably picked up along the way that I should not be doing? What am I doing now that I need to do more of? What am I doing now that you just love? And what am I doing now that you despise? Take words of wisdom from other people, from their perspectives, and you will get a clearer picture on who you are based off others' perspectives. Because you can have this internal dialogue and this internal desire, but if you do not relay that to others, they don't see it. They do not understand it. You must use your words and communication to relay that. But you can utilize that in a capacity of looking back from a different lens. Ask your spouse how far you've come, what you've overcome. There's going to be things you forgot about. Let's be honest. There are some fairly traumatic things that happened to get you here. And it is very possible you forgot some of them on purpose. But it's also important to realize what you've been through. After all, the story you tell people, the challenges you overcame to get to where you are, at some point when you relay that story, will be somebody else's roadmap. It will be their guidebook on how to get to where they're trying to go, based off what you went through. Recognize that everything works for you, not to you. The world and universe is conspiring in your favor. You must think of these things because those thoughts precede your actions. And everything you do, your actions, they precede the opportunities that come to you that you can take to move the needle forward. Because after all, where you focus, you truly do find. My son is so fixated on things sometimes. And I've thought about when you sit there and stare at a dot on the wall, and I stand next to you, and I hold up my fingers and say, how many am I holding up? They say, I can't see you. You're out of view. I'm focused on this dot. Well, maybe you should stop being so focused on the dot. Maybe you should look around and so and speak, smell the roses. That is what I have for you. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you sharing these episodes because that is the only way this little podcast grows. It has spanned the world several times over, and for that I am grateful. And for my international friends, thank you. Share it as well for those people you think will benefit to blow past the glass ceiling of your own making. Leave me a review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to it. Like this thing, subscribe to it, download it for future listenings. Until next week, I love you guys. Bye.